We're focusing today on managing challenging behaviors in children with autism. We've gone through a lot of expert guidance to kind of pull out the key stuff.
Key stuff, like so.
Like identifying what triggers these behaviors, what the function is, but also, practical strategies, things to do beforehand, things to do in the moment.
Yeah.
All based on evidence.
So our mission, let's call it that, is to give you a solid foundation for understanding and approaching these challenging behaviors in kids with autism, using strategies that, have research behind them. So where do we even begin?
Well, the absolute first step, according to pretty much all our sources, is understanding the behavior itself. You've got to be a bit of a detective.
A behavior detective. Okay, I like that. So what are we detecting? What's the main clue we're after?
We're trying to figure out the function of the behavior. Why is the child doing it? What purpose does it serve for them?
Okay, function. Like, what does that mean in practice?
It generally falls into a few categories. Is the child trying to get attention?
Okay.
Or are they trying to escape or avoid something they don't like? A task, a place, a person.
Right, escape. Makes sense.
Or maybe they want something specific, access to a toy, a snack, an activity. We call that tangibles.
Gotcha. Tangibles.
Or it could be about sensory input, either seeking more sensation or trying to reduce overwhelming sensation.
The sensory angle.
Yeah. And crucially, maybe the behavior is their way of communicating, telling you something they can't easily say with words like pain, frustration, confusion, a need.
That communication piece feels really important.
It often is. So say a child throws their work off the table.
Yeah.
Is it escape from the task? Or maybe frustration because they don't understand? Or are they trying to get your attention?
See? The why matters.
Okay, so how do we figure out why it is? It's not always obvious.
No, definitely not. That's where observation and keeping some kind of record comes in. Our sources really stress this.
Like a logbook? Yeah, something like that. Noting down, the basics. Date, time, where it happened, who was around.
Okay.
But also specifically what the behavior looked like. And just as important, what was going on before it happened, the antecedent, what was the environment like, lights, noise, any changes in routine.
So context is everything, not just the behavior in isolation.
Exactly. And you also want to think about the child's internal state, if you can. Were they looking tired, seem hungry, anxious, maybe overexcited? Those feelings can be major triggers.
Right, like if they skip their nap, that's probably relevant info.
Totally relevant. And then you look at this log over time. You start looking for patterns.
Okay. So maybe every Tuesday before swimming, this happens.
Precisely. You spot those recurring triggers or situations. And once you see the pattern, you can start thinking about how to change things before the behavior happens. You get proactive instead of just reactive.
That sounds powerful, but also potentially a bit overwhelming, interpreting all that data.
It can be. And that's why our sources strongly recommend getting professional help if you can. Behavioral therapists, autism specialists, they're trained to analyze this kind of information.
They can help connect the dots.
Yeah, they can help you see the patterns, understand the probable function, and then suggest specific, tailored interventions based on your child's unique profile. It's invaluable, really.
Okay, so detective work first, understand the function, look for patterns, maybe get some expert help. Got it. So once we have a better idea of the why, what's next? How do we start making things better?
That leads us right into proactive strategies. This is all about building a supportive environment, setting things up so those challenging behaviors are just less likely to happen in the first place.
Setting the stage for success. I like that. What are the key pieces of that stage?
Predictability is a huge one. Our sources mention routines over and over. Kids with autism often feel much less anxious and more secure when they know what's coming next.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Uncertainty is tough for anyone, right?
Yeah.
How do we make routines clear?
Visual supports are fantastic for this. Think visual schedules, charts showing steps for getting dressed, or even like storyboards for transitions.
So pictures or symbols to make it concrete.
Exactly. It makes the abstract flow of time much easier to grasp, helps them prepare for what's next.
Okay. And we mentioned sensory needs earlier. How do we proactively deal with those?
It's about being aware and accommodating. First, identify those sensitivities. Is it loud noises, bright lights, certain food textures, scratchy clothes?
Right.
Then you can adapt the environment. Maybe dimmer lights, noise-canceling headphones for outings, providing preferred clothing textures, or building in sensory breaks, offering tools like fidgets or weighted lap pads.
So meeting their sensory needs before they get overwhelmed.
Precisely. It's respecting their unique sensory profile. And another big proactive piece is positive reinforcement.
Okay, rewarding good behavior.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's more than just rewards. It's about catching them, being good, offering specific praise, maybe using token systems, giving positive attention for the behaviors you want to see more of. It builds momentum.
Creates a more positive cycle.
Exactly. And consistency is vital here too. Everyone involved, parents, teachers, therapists, needs to be on the same page with rules, expectations, and how they respond.
That consistency provides security, I imagine?
It really does. Reduces confusion. Another thing is breaking down tasks. If something seems too big or overwhelming, it can trigger frustration or avoidance.
So, like, instead of clean your room, it's put the blocks in the bin, then put the books on the shelf.
Perfect example. Smaller, manageable steps. Builds confidence and reduces that feeling of being overwhelmed. Celebrate each step.
Good point. Celebrating the small wins. What about social skills? Sometimes challenges come up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Difficulties understanding social cues or interacting can lead to frustration and challenging behaviors. So proactively teaching social skills is important.
How do you teach that?
Things like role-playing different scenarios, modeling the appropriate way to ask for a turn, using social stories that explain social situations in a clear, simple way.
Making the unwritten rules more explicit.
You got it. And related to that is supporting functional communication. We touched on this before.
Right, making sure they have a way to express themselves.
Yes. If a child can't communicate their needs or wants effectively, frustration is almost inevitable. So using visuals, gestures, sign language, or AAC devices, whatever works for them, is crucial. It gives them a voice.
It prevents the need for the behavior to do the communicating?
Exactly. And one last proactive point, but it's really important, parent self-care.
Taking care of the caregiver.
Yes. Our sources highlight this. If you're burnt out, stressed, exhausted, it's so much harder to be patient, consistent, and implement all these strategies effectively. You need your own support system.
Can't pour from an empty cup. It's so true. Okay, that's a great overview of the proactive side, setting the stage. But inevitably, challenging moments will still happen sometimes. So what about reactive strategies? What do we do in the heat of the moment?
Okay, so when a meltdown or a really challenging behavior is happening, the absolute #1 thing, stay calm yourself, or at least try to project calm.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It takes practice, but your calmness or lack thereof really impacts the situation. Regulating your own emotions first is key.
Okay, breathe deep, then what?
Try to create a calming environment if possible.
Right.
Reduce the sensory input. Lower the lights, turn off the TV, maybe move to a quieter space, fewer people around, like creating a little safe zone.
Remove some of the overload.
Exactly. And help them use coping skills if they're able to in that moment. Skills you've hopefully practiced beforehand.
Like deep breaths or squeezing a stress ball.
Yeah, or going to their quiet corner, listening to calming music, engaging with a favorite comfort item, whatever works for that child. But again, these need to be taught when they are calm.
Right, you can't really teach it effectively mid-meltdown. What about talking to them during it?
Keep communication really simple. During a meltdown, processing language is hard. Use fewer words, speak calmly, maybe use gestures or visuals if they use them. Nonverbal cues can be more effective sometimes.
Less is more.
Often, yes.
Now, one thing the sources seem really clear on is avoiding punishment during these moments.
Absolutely critical. A meltdown is usually a sign of being overwhelmed, of distress, of losing control. It's not willful defiance in that moment.
So punishment would just add more stress.
Exactly. It can escalate things, damage trust, and it doesn't teach the child what to do instead. The focus needs to be on safety, support, and co-regulation, helping them calm down.
Co-regulation, helping them feel safe enough to calm.
Yes. And then afterwards, allow for recovery time. They might be exhausted, emotionally drained. Give them space and time to just regroup.
That makes sense. Okay, so we've covered understanding, proactive, reactive. What about specific tools or techniques that might help? Our sources mentioned a few interesting ones.
Yeah, there's some cool specific things. Music therapy came up.
Music therapy, how does that help?
Well, music accesses different parts of the brain, often nonverbal areas. So for kids with communication challenges, it can be a powerful way to connect, express emotion, improve mood, even work on social skills like turn-taking in songs.
Finding another pathway in.
Kind of, yeah.
Another big topic is sleep. Melatonin often gets mentioned.
Yeah, sleep problems are really common. Melatonin is a hormone our bodies naturally make to regulate sleep. Some research suggests kids with autism might produce it differently or at lower levels.
So a supplement might help regulate their sleep cycle.
It can, for some. It might help them fall asleep faster, maybe stay asleep longer. And better sleep often means better mood, alertness, and maybe less challenging behavior during the day.
Makes sense. Anything important to know about using it?
Oh, absolutely. First, always talk to a doctor before starting it. Essential. They need to advise on dosage, timing, make sure there are no interactions with other meds or health issues.
Right, doctor first.
And typically you start with a very low dose, maybe 30 minutes before bedtime, just once a night. But yeah, medical guidance is key.
Got it. And the sources also really pushed teaching self-regulation and coping skills directly.
Yes, hugely important. We can't just expect kids to know how to manage big feelings. We need to teach them.
How do we do that?
Modeling is big, showing how we handle frustration calmly. Naming emotions. I see you're feeling frustrated right now. Using visual aids like feeling charts or calm down menus with choices.
Like a menu of coping strategies.
Exactly. Feeling upset, you could take 5 deep breaths, squeeze your putty, or look at your calm down bottle. Also, mindfulness activities, simple yoga, movement breaks. And again, those predictable routines help build that foundation for regulation. Patience and celebrating effort are key.
Okay, great. So we've got general strategies, specific tools. Let's maybe touch on some specific types of challenging behaviors our sources discuss. Self-injury was one.
Right, self-injurious behavior, or SIB. Things like headbanging, biting oneself, skin picking. It's obviously very concerning. The why here could be complex communication difficulties, trying to get attention, sensory needs, maybe even biochemical stuff sometimes.
So the approach needs to be multifaceted.
Yeah, definitely. Boosting communication skills is often central. Behavior plans focusing on teaching alternative coping skills are key. Generally, you want to avoid reinforcing the SIB with lots of attention right after, unless it's a safety issue. Sometimes, under medical supervision, supplements or meds might be considered. And consistency from everyone is crucial.
Okay. What about aggression or meltdowns? They can be really tough.
Yeah, very tough. A lot of the strategies overlap here. Understand the triggers that logbook, again, create that calm environment when it happens, proactively teach coping skills, support communication during the event, reinforce positive behaviors when things are calm, and again, professional support and parent self-care are vital for the long haul.
It keeps coming back to those core principles.
It really does.
And what about tantrums in public? That adds another layer of stress.
Oh yeah. Public situations are tricky. Staying calm yourself is paramount. Try to anticipate triggers before you go out. Are they tired? Hungry? Is the place likely to be overwhelming? Bring visual supports or comfort items.
Have a toolkit ready.
Exactly. If a tantrum starts, try to find a quieter spot if possible. Offer simple choices if appropriate. Use those pre-practiced calming techniques. Acknowledge their feeling, I know you're upset, we have to leave. Be consistent with rules if possible, and have an exit plan if needed. Afterwards, reflect on the trigger and practice coping at home.
Preparation and planning seem really key there.
They make a huge difference.
Okay. So as we kind of pull this all together, a major theme running through everything is personalization and working with others, right?
Absolutely. One size fits all just doesn't work. Our sources hammer home the need for individualized behavior support plans, both for home and school. These plans need to be tailored to the child's specific strengths, needs, and the function of their behavior.
Not just generic rules.
No. And they should focus on teaching new skills, not just stopping the behavior. Using SMART goal-specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound can be a really helpful way to structure these plans.
Makes the goals concrete and trackable.
Exactly. And collaboration is essential. Working with behavioral therapists, teachers, autism specialists, OTs, speech therapists, whoever is involved, they all bring different pieces of the puzzle.
A team approach.
Yes. It gives you much richer understanding and leads to better strategies. And then consistency across all those settings, home, school, community, is what helps the child really learn and generalize those new skills.
Makes sense. So it's not just what happens in therapy, it has to carry over.
Right. And it's not static. You have to keep monitoring how things are going, track progress, and be willing to tweak the plan as the child grows and changes. It's an ongoing process.
It really sounds like a journey, not a quick fix.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, if we had to boil it down, what are maybe 2 or 3 really core messages for listeners to take away?
I'd say first, always try to understand the function of the behavior. Look past the surface, figure out the why. That changes everything.
Okay, function first.
Second, lean into those proactive strategies, predictable routines, visual supports, sensory accommodations. positive reinforcement. Building that supportive foundation really can prevent a lot of challenges.
Be proactive. Got it.
And third, remember it has to be individualized. What works for one child might not work for another. Collaboration with professionals and tailoring the approach are key.
Function, proactive, individualized. Great summary. And maybe a final thought for everyone listening.
Well, I think it's helpful to remember that often challenging behavior is communication. It's the child trying to tell you something they can't express another way. If you can approach it with curiosity, like that detective.
And compassion.
Yeah, and compassion. You can become a better partner in helping them learn and grow and build a stronger connection.
That's a lovely way to think about it. While it can definitely feel like this constant, steep learning curve sometimes.
Oh, it can.
Focusing on your child's unique strengths, not just the challenges, and really celebrating every single step forward, no matter how tiny it seems.
Yeah.
That can really light up the path, can't it, for both of you?
Beautifully put. Celebrate the progress.
So we really encourage you to think about the strategies we talked about today. Which ones might resonate? Which might fit your situation? Maybe do some more reading. Or, importantly, reach out for that professional guidance to get personalized support.
Yeah, don't hesitate to seek help.
Yeah.
And just know, the effort you put in, the dedication, it truly matters. It makes a huge difference in your child's life.